Yes.
Isn't he?
Top B flat.
Top B flat, I remember that. You gave me one of those, and Love Changes Everything.
I know, and it was a big one, wasn't it?
Yes, it's.
Do you remember when we said, let's go for it?
I remember exactly, because it used to end with just your
we
repeats.
did, and then I just said...
Love will never, never let you be.
Well, I said, why don't we do the big one?
Have you ever seen Don Black sing it? Don, who wrote the lyrics?
Yes, Don Black singing it. Do you know I have? Let's not go.
Do you know how he ended it? He goes, love will never, never let you be the same. Da, 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 da. Love will never, never let you be the... Good night and God bless.
Did you ever hear John's other verse?
No.
Scotch changes everything.
Scotch. Oh, I had Love Changes Underpants.
Oh yes. Very good. Touche.
Listen, lovely, lovely hearing that. That's one of the standout songs from...
Yeah, thanks.
What goes through your mind when you're listening to your work being performed, especially in front of an audience like this? What are you looking at them react to how he's singing it?
You know, it's a bit of both, isn't it? I mean, the trouble is, if you're a composer, you do want to know how people are reacting to it, but at the same time, of course, the performer is the most important thing.
And how do you know when you've written a good song? Do you know? Are there songs that you think this is cracking and people have gone, no?
Well, the funny thing, of course, is that I'm a composer, and therefore I know when I've written a good tune. When you've written a good song is the moment when you know that the lyric is completely coalesced with the song. Sometimes I think I've written melodies that may have got a bit buried because maybe the lyric hasn't worked with the song. Sometimes actually it's the other way round. When you're writing for musical theatre, the story comes first. If the story's right, then the songs will probably come right.
So we come to the story of Love Never Dies, which is the sequel to the most phenomenal success of all time, Phantom of the Opera. Why did you want to revisit the Phantom?
I've always felt that it'd be interesting to know what happened to Christine and what happened to them later on, and the idea of setting it, as we have done in Coney Island, that was the thing that made me intrigued, because Coney Island was kind of like the eighth wonder of the world at the turn of the last century. This place Sigmund Freud went to and said it's the only reason to go to America to go see it. And it struck me all these freaks and strangenesses and oddities and everything. Something I don't know that we got completely right in this production, but it's a really, really fantastic idea that he buried himself in there somehow. And he took it over, and that's what the show's really about.
Interesting you say you haven't got it completely right.
I don't think we have it right.
You open and you don't know really until you've got it in front of an audience what it's going to happen. You had great reviews.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, as you know. I mean, the next
only too well.
Yeah, the next production is going to be in Australia, and we're going to have a different design there. And when it goes to Broadway, it starts from Toronto next year and drops into Broadway. And again, it'll be interesting. It'll be different because the design there's going to be by Rob Jones, who did The Sound of Music and was doing The Wizard of Oz.
I want to talk about that whole genre of what the new television that you brought, of casting through the television, because a lot of us in the business, I think, were very cynical at first, and I'll absolutely hold my hand up and say I was completely wrong. Noticing from Hairspray, from visiting the theatres, there's a whole new generation of kids coming into the theatre, and I think prompted by interest in those shows and things like Glee and High School Musical.
Yeah, and there are going to be 14 the kids from our shows that are going to be leads in the West End by Christmas.
That's amazing.
Extraordinary.
That is
but the interesting thing, I think, is that when we were looking for Dorothy, we had very nearly 10,000 girls. If I'm being truthful, because I'm in the same studio as we did The Sound of Music, the fact is that there really were only a few hundred. And the difference is that these 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds coming and saying, I want to be Dorothy, and they come on and they do consummate performances. We heard Hairspray a lot, and we heard a lot from, say, musicals like Sweet Charity, and we said, where did you get all this from? They'd, oh, well, when we saw the Maria programme, we thought we'd start a drama class at school, or we would do this and the other. It has made a sea change. I mean, I don't know whether we can really go on doing. I always said I would do 3 shows, and we ended up doing 4. And I think it's interesting that there's most definitely been a whole new generation that's been turned on to musicals.
You think The Wizard of Oz will be it for that?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm trying to think of what else you could. Well, it has to be something that people are going to be capable of sustaining.
Yes, it's got to be something that the audience, the television audience, knows about. So maybe you could do Eliza in My Fair Lady.
But what apart? I mean,
you
to find someone like that is. I mean, that's
but you know, it's. I think we should do Lloyd next time. I think we found too many girls.
Could they be in their 40s?
I'm not talking to you.
The The Wizard of Oz is going to go on at the Palladium, one of your theatres.
Where we preview in February. Was the most extraordinary set that I've ever seen in my life. So I've allowed the longest period of what we call technical theatres and musical theatre that I've done in my history, because I have a feeling the Yellow Brick Road will sort of swallow up the theatre or something, and Toto will disappear, and God knows what. It's extremely worrying, but it's a fantastic design.
Can't wait to see it.
And I really do think that we have to deliver something in the Palladium. Putting back the Revolve, putting back the double Revolve, it was ripped out.
Of course.
For City, yes, it was for you. He was my
I've got to say to you,
coming back to you every time.
I know, you've seen the name.
I know. I'm extremely put out.
The first time I had billing above you in my life.
I know.
I want to say,
again.
it is lovely to see you looking so well as well, and so fit and feisty, because you have that heart. People, when you came out, you were very honest about the prostate cancer and everything, and there was a real swelling of feeling for you. It must have been very gratifying.
Well, it was. I mean,
why did you want to come public?
Well, why not? I mean, if you've got something, and what's the point of sort of saying, well, I'm out of action for a couple of months because I sort of need a rest or something? The fact of the matter is I have prostate cancer, so say so. And I think the exciting thing for me is that by saying so, an awful lot of other people came out and they feel. I mean, it's a very simple thing to have the test done. Just a simple thing called a PSA test, and I noticed mine was going a little bit crazy, but I didn't even go to be checked for that. I went for something else, and I suddenly saw this test, and I said, do you know what, I think I'd like to go on this. And I got it very early, so I was very lucky. When you're a bloke and you're over sort of 50, you
well, I'm
really...
not.
I gave you the lines. I fed in the line. But you really should.
Yeah, absolutely, and everything's okay, everything's...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the things, I had a slight complication with the operation that I got to sort out, which is boring, which is only because I had an appendicitis when I was 3, which was done by a bloke, I think, with a meat cleaver. So, of course, when the poor guys were trying to kind of get through to it, they sort of hit solid concrete. so there's something that's got to be tidied up, but the main thing is that the cancer's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely to see you, ladies and gentlemen.
Lovely to see you.
I'm Lloyd.